All right, hello guys, and welcome back to SEDA College Online Live. This is the next broadcast in the intermediate language series. So thank you all for coming. I'm broadcasting from beautiful Dublin today, and I'm very excited to be here today. So please, you know, sit down, get your laptop set up in a comfortable position. Make sure you can grab all your drinks, your snacks, and get ready as we're going to talk about some more grammar points. And also, please do go back if you have not seen the other videos in the intermediate series. Please do go and watch those because we'll always be carrying information from previous videos into the current one. So some very important ideas from the last video will come up in this one. Uh, so yes, I do recommend watching them. Just joined today. Feel free to say in the live chat, say where you're from, where you are currently, so we can see and hear from everyone all over the world. Okay, so let's begin. So I'll start with a lesson overview, tell you each part of the lesson today, and that way you know exactly what to expect. So we're starting with grammar, as always. So we'll talk about the present perfect again today. Some people may go, oh, I remember that. Yes, so we're going to continue from the previous video and add some additional information about the present perfect. Specifically, we're going to be adding some information about for and since. And then in addition to those 2 points, we are also going to talk about the present perfect continuous. So getting more specific with our verb tenses now. After grammar, we're going to cover some vocabulary, specifically strong adjectives. Look a lot about the connection between the weak and the strong adjective, and then some notes for pronunciation. All right, so let's get going. Oh, the present perfect. I'm going to review everything that we've talked about previously for the present perfect. That way, if you didn't see the previous lesson, you can kind of catch up now. And then for anyone who may have forgotten, we'll remind you now. So, the meaning. As always, I'll talk about meaning first with grammar. And so the present perfect is to talk about events that started in the past but are connected to the present. So some evidence still is with you now. Some idea is here now in the present. That first action was in the past, but something about it still exists now. So to make it, it's going to be subject plus have plus the past participle. So what is the past participle? Well, for a regular verb, that would be something like walk. And then the past participle would be walked, just the ed form of the verb with the ed suffix. If it's a regular verb or it is an irregular verb, it will have a different form for the past participle, and that might be something like eat. So a normal verb eat, past participle is eaten. So there are the past participle has several different forms, but that is what you need for the present perfect. And then as always, if you are doing he, she, it, you will have has, not have. All right, so timeline. I've got a timeline here to help show the concept a little more clearly. And I have the 3 points marked, the past, the present, and the future. So we're looking at the combination of these two here, the past and now. So the present perfect is this idea. You've got some event that started in the past and is either finishing now, finished right now, or has some evidence from right now. So examples might be, I have studied Spanish. I started my study in the past. I started when I was a younger child, but my knowledge is here today. My ideas are here today, so it continues. Or something like an example from before, Tina has cut her finger. Oh no, she cut her finger. The cut happened in the past, but the injury is still here. The cut is still here. You can see it. So that's why we use the present perfect for this situation. If I change these examples for the past, the simple past, if I only say I studied Spanish, that usually means I'm finished. Like I did it in the past. Maybe I don't remember. I studied Spanish, but gosh, I cannot remember anything. Or Tina cut her finger yesterday, but it's okay now. It's mostly healed. So that's the distinction. The present perfect brings something to now, something to the present. But what's more important for today is this for and since. So the first thing, very important, pronunciation. It is since. This word has an I sound represented by this symbol if we talk about phonetics. This symbol is the same sound as the I or I in igloo or iguana. So it's the same sound. Igloo, iguana, since I. So please be very careful with this pronunciation. Always try to remember since. So let's say that all together, everyone. Since. Okay. Now for the meaning, the time. So it's a very clear distinction. For is for a period of time, something like 20 minutes or 20 years, some amount of time that you measure with minutes, seconds, weeks, days, years. Since is for a specific time. An example of this would be a date or a year. So since March 23rd, 1996, or since 2002, or since last week. Some specific point in time. I think for is more like a window of time, whereas since is going back to that one specific point. So what does that look like? Something like this. Andrew has worked in Dublin for 10 years. So he arrived in Dublin in the past. He has worked here for 10 years. So we're talking about that entire point from the past when he arrived all the way to the present, and we want that amount. Or my example, I have liked broccoli since I was a child. So not always just dates like, specific days or years. It can also be specific points in the past, like since I was a child. That's one specific point in the past, my childhood. So that's true for me. I've always liked broccoli, loved it my whole life. So these rules are very, very regular, very set. There are really no exceptions here. It's going to be for a period of time and since for a specific time. And often it will be with these verbs in the present perfect. So verbs like this, know, work, live, have, they're called non-action verbs, meaning there is no action, there is no activity. You either know or you do not know. You either like or you do not like. You either have or you do not have. There's no action in between. It's a yes or a no idea. Work is a special verb. The verbs to work and the verb to live can be used either way, and so we'll talk about that a little bit in the future. But so in the present perfect, it is very common to say, I have known somebody for 10 years. I have worked here for 10 years. I have liked broccoli since I was a child. I have had this computer since 2002. We'll usually use the present perfect with these verbs and with for and since. All right. So the present perfect continuous. Very similar idea to the present perfect. So that's why the review was so important. It's a very similar idea with one small change. So the meaning. We use the present perfect to talk about an event that started in the past, but we think that it is, or we think it will continue, or it is still happening now. It's still in progress now. So at the time of speaking, the action started in the past and will continue. So what does it look like? Well, we have now an additional auxiliary verb. So subject plus have plus been plus verb ing. So to mix the continuous, we have the continuous marker. The auxiliary verb to be is the continuous marker, and the auxiliary verb to have is the perfect marker, or the perfect auxiliary. So we combine the two to make the perfect continuous. And the same rules has if your subject is he or she. So I'll show another timeline to help make this idea a little more clear. So if we look at this, we've got an action in the past that is continuing. It is ongoing and in process. So it will continue into the future. So that's the idea for this. An example might be, I have been teaching English for 3 years. True for me. So I started teaching in the past, and I'm teaching now. All right, I hope I will teach more in the future. So that's why I say the present perfect there, because it's an action that started in the past that's still happening now. Okay, so let's continue then to pronunciation. So we've got 2 pronunciation for this one. Of course, there are contractions, of course, but specifically, there's something called vowel reduction. So vowel reduction means to make smaller. To reduce is to make smaller, to make less. So we're going to look at how these two work together. So we have the same contractions for have that we have from the previous ones. You know, I've, you've, he's, she's, it's, we've, they've. The same negative contractions, haven't and hasn't. But here now we have the vowel reduction. So in very fast, very normal English speech, we do not say been, we say been, much shorter, much faster, been. And we actually connect it to the previous contraction. So here's an example. This sentence I said before, I have been teaching for 3 years. Well, first we have one change, the contraction, I've. And then we have to make the second change, the reduction, not been, but been. So in more natural pronunciation, it becomes I've been. I've been teaching for 3 years. I've been teaching for 3 years. And we connect this whole phrase here, this whole phrase, I've been. We do it with other subjects as well, not only pronouns. Again, this star here means I do not recommend to write. This is only to show pronunciation. So Andrew's been studying chemistry. So again, the reduction and the contraction, Andrew's been. And with another example, they've been. They've been working here since they were children. So let's try that. Let's say these sentences together to try to practice that more rapid pronunciation. So the first one, I've been teaching for 3 years. I've been teaching for 3 years. And then just the contraction, I've been. I've been. Okay, the next one. Andrew's been studying chemistry since 2016. Andrew's been studying chemistry since 2016. All right, the contraction. Andrew's been. Andrew's been. Okay, final pronunciation, big sentence. They've been working here since they were children. They've been working here since they were children. And now the contraction, they've been. They've been. Very good. Okay, so I will always say this style of pronunciation is not required. You do not have to use these contractions. You do not have to do this vowel reduction. Because if you say, I have been teaching for 3 years. Everyone in the world will understand, and that is okay. But this is what you will hear. So no matter what, people from the United States, people from the United Kingdom, people from Ireland, they will say it this way. So you need to be prepared at least to hear this. And then if you want, you can say it. Maybe you say, I want to sound like an American. I want to sound like a British person. Oh, that's fine. And then you can practice this pronunciation. But that's why I always focus so much on pronunciation and contractions, because you must, become accustomed and become used to them, because you will hear them whether you want them or not. Okay, so let's now look about comparing the two, and especially when it comes to for and since, because both the present perfect and the present perfect continuous use for and since, but they use them in different ways. So the present perfect. We use the present perfect for or since with non-action verbs, returning to those verbs like know and like and have. This is when we use for or since with the present perfect. The present perfect can be action verbs, like verb to eat. I can say, I have eaten lunch today. Done. We're good. Or you can say, I have had a bicycle for 3 years. And that's when we use for or since with the present perfect for that non-action have had. On the other hand, the present perfect continuous must be an action verb. It is required because it must be in progress, it must be continuous, so it must be an action, something you can do for a period of time. It will always be an action verb like eat or jump or run or sleep, something that has a process inside of it. So an example is, I've liked the cinema since I was a child. Liked is non-action. We never say I am liking or I have been liking. We never do that because you either like the cinema or you do not like the cinema. There's no kind of continuous action happening. On the other hand, I have been studying for 3 years. Study is a process, a long time. You study for years and years and years. So this is why we must use the continuous for it. And then another example, Tina and David have known each other for 10 years. Here we use the present perfect, not the continuous, because you either know someone or you do not know someone. We think of it as a yes or a no. So there's no continuous, just perfect, just the present perfect. So that's the difference, really. We use for or since for both. The present perfect uses for or since with non-action verbs like have, know. The present perfect continuous uses it with action verbs, something that has a process, something that can take time. There's 2 exceptions. You saw in my previous slide, I had the verb work. Work can be both. It can be present perfect or present continuous. It doesn't matter. You can say, I have worked here, or I have been working here for 3 years. No difference. And the same for the verb to live. I have lived here for 10 years. I have been living here for 10 years. Those don't matter because it's kind of a middle. The verb to work and the verb to live are action and non-action. They're a little in between. So those are the 2 exceptions. Other verbs are very clear. They use one or the other. Like, always present perfect. Have, always present perfect for and since. On the other hand, something like jump or eat or sleep, present perfect continuous, always. The 2 exceptions are live and work. Those can be either, no problem. All right, so final thing, let's look at questions, because there's a very important part of question making in these two verb tenses. So the first sentence is Amanda has finished eating. Try to make the question now. Think in your head. What is the question? Amanda has finished eating. Question is, has Amanda finished eating? So we just do our normal subject auxiliary inversion. All right, next example. David has been studying for 2 hours. The question? A little trickier. Well, if you say, has David been studying for 2 hours? You are correct. Maybe someone said, how long? If you said, how long, don't worry. I will talk about that. So let's look at the grammar of these sentences. So we have our subject, Amanda, our auxiliary verb, has, verb, finished. So we can very easily subject auxiliary inversion and just swap our two. We do not need do, no do, because we have an auxiliary already. On the other hand, let's look at this sentence. We have our subject, we have an auxiliary verb. Oh, we have another. We have two auxiliary verbs in this sentence, and then our main verb, study. So what do? Well, you always take the auxiliary verb on the left, or left. Always on the left is where you take your auxiliary verb from questions. So no matter, you can have 3 or even 4 auxiliary verbs in English, you will always take the one on the left. So we take the one on the left, has, and make the question, has David been studying? And to answer these, you can say, yes, he has been studying, or no, he hasn't. Or Amanda, has Amanda finished eating? Yes, she has, or no, she hasn't. So we always answer with the auxiliary verb as well. Okay. But what is very common with the present perfect and the present perfect continuous is to make how long questions. Because really we're talking about time, that amount of time, whether it's a duration or a specific point. We're talking about time, so we use the question word how long. How long has he been studying? So he has been studying for 2 hours. Or how long have you known Amanda? I've known her for 3 years. So we use that how long when we want to know the amount of time from the past to the present, and it will always be how long. Okay. So practice. We're going to do practice correct or incorrect. I will show you a sentence, and then I will let you think for maybe a minute. Do you think the sentence is correct or incorrect? If the sentence is incorrect, try to fix the mistakes. How do you change it to make it correct? So, first sentence. Rules first, just to help you remember. Here are the rules. Now, first sentence. We've lived here since 6 months. All right, so what do you think? We've lived here since 6 months. Is that correct or incorrect? And okay, if you think incorrect, try to change the sentence, fix it. All right, so the answer. It is incorrect. Yeah, if you said incorrect, that is correct. We need to change since to for because we have a period of time here, 6 months. So it needs to be we've lived here for 6 months. All right. So that one was kind of the example, the warm-up. Here's a more challenging sentence. So number 2. How long are you knowing your friend? Correct or incorrect? What do you think? All right. And then if you think incorrect, how do you change it? How do you fix it? Give you one more moment to think. All right. So It is incorrect. It needs to be, how long have you known your friend? Always know. No will never have ing. It will never be continuous. So, how long have you known your friend? That's the correct way to ask that question. All right. Number 3. I have been studying for 3 years. Correct? Incorrect? All right. I'm sure I heard many corrects. I didn't hear, but in my mind I could hear correct, correct, correct. Yes, it is correct. No change, perfect sentence. All right, number 4. Oh, hello. I don't see you for a long time. Correct or incorrect? All right, think it needs any changes? Any changes? Well, yes, we need changes. It is incorrect. It's not don't see. This is not present simple. It's haven't seen. I have not seen you for a long time. Why? Why do I say this? Why not present simple? Well, because there's the idea of the past here. I'm thinking about the past, and I have not seen you for a long time, all the way into the past. And then we come to the present, and it's still true. It's true now. I haven't seen you for a long time. So there's that connection from the past to the present, and so we need the present perfect. All right, final example. My parents have renovated their house for 1 year. If anyone has a question about renovated, to renovate is a verb which means to take a home, maybe a home of poor quality or a bad design or a home with damages, and to fix it, to buy the home, put lots of money into it, and then repair it so that it is new or fixed. So that's to renovate. So what do you think? Correct or incorrect? Correct, incorrect, correct, incorrect. Well, it is actually incorrect. And why? Because it is an action verb. So we need have been renovating. There's that idea of a process for 1 year. So I know that there is an amount of time. So I know I'm inside a process, so I need the present continuous because it's in progress now. They have been renovating it for 1 year. To use the present perfect, I must take away the time. My parents have renovated their home. Done. And then the present perfect is correct. But if we add time, now we have a process, so we need the present perfect continuous. All right. So some good practice. I hope this helped clear up some ideas that you maybe had about them. So let's go on to that vocabulary I promised, the strong adjectives. So we have many adjectives to describe people and places and ideas and things, but they have different strengths. Some are very low emotion, and some are very high emotion. So we're looking at these very high emotion adjectives. So I will show you now a list of 10 weak adjectives. Small, angry, happy, hungry, big, cold, funny, sure, scared, and dirty. So those are 10 just weak adjectives, not very strong. Small, no, not descriptive. Angry, can be very weak anger. So how do I say the other side, the strongest form, the most extreme other side? So that's what I want you to guess. So I've given you the weak, you try to guess the strong adjective examples. So for example, number 1, small is weak, tiny is strong. Tiny is very, 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 very small. That's something that is tiny. So let's go through the list. Number 2, angry. Anyone know the strong adjective for angry? You are the most angry, the most. It is furious. Yeah, that is lots and lots of angry. Maximum angry is furious. Okay, number 3, happy. There are many adjectives that mean very happy, but one that I think is, any guess? It's delighted. Well, I showed the next one by accident, sorry. But yes, so happy and delighted, and then we have hungry and starving. So starving is I need food now. That's me in the morning when I wake up from bed. I'm starving. I need food now. I love breakfast. Okay, so back to the game. Big. Any guess what is the strong adjective for big? Maybe you know, maybe you know. Well, one is enormous. Pronunciation here is an enormous. If you said huge, that's fine. They're kind of equal, enormous or huge. They're equal adjectives. I just chose enormous because I like that word, enormous. Okay, so cold. Oh, it is 0 degrees outside. It is so, so cold. What can you say? Freezing. Yeah, if you said freezing, you guessed correctly. So cold and freezing are the opposites. Well, not opposites, but extremes. Okay, funny. Now, funny, what do you think it was? The movie was so, so funny. It was hilarious. That's kind of the most funny. If something is hilarious, maybe you hurt here because you laugh so much, you have pain in your side. All right, sure. Sure meaning I know. And the positive, oh, I said it. The strong adjective is positive. Oops. I've got them all in my head together, and one is coming out when I want the other. But yes, so sure becomes positive. Positive means I know, no doubt at all, positive. Okay, next adjective, scared. Anyone know, scared? What do you think? Well, the strong is terrified. So if you are terrified, it's a very, very scary thing. You are very scared. And then finally, dirty. Ooh, any guesses? Any guesses? Something that's really, really dirty. Filthy. Yeah, so filthy is, I mean, dirty, bad, very bad. If something is filthy, I don't want to touch it, I don't want to see it, I don't want to look at it. So I'm going to say all of these strong adjectives so we can practice pronunciation. So tiny, tiny, furious, furious, delighted, delighted, starving, starving, enormous, pay attention here, enormous, freezing, freezing, hilarious, hilarious, positive, positive, terrified, terrified, filthy, filthy. This one might take practice to get. This LTH combination is difficult. So I'll say it again. Filthy, filthy. Yeah, I recommend practicing this one a lot to train your mouth for this LTH. And so how do I modify them? Well, adverbs have feeling as well. So our adverbs match. So we use very for the weak adjectives, very small, very big, very sure, very dirty, and then really or absolutely for the strong adjectives. These are kind of the biggest form. So absolutely tiny, really hilarious, absolutely starving. They match together that way. All right. So vocabulary. Here are some examples of these sentences. Remember that the strong adjectives have emotion in them. I say them because I have a really strong feeling about this. So always remember to say them with emphasis. So starting with the examples here, Jack's apartment is enormous. I wonder how much it costs. So as I said, we'll say that with a lot of power and emphasis. So Jack's apartment is enormous because that means it is huge. It is a huge apartment. Another example, it's absolutely freezing today. I need to get another coat. It's just very cold outside, so you want to put emotion. This meal is really delicious. I can't believe it was so cheap. So, whenever you choose these words, it means I feel very strongly. So it's very natural to say with emotion. I would never say, yeah, this meal is really delicious. It doesn't make sense. Why would I say delicious if I feel so bleh? So always remember emphasis. So, are you sure you locked the door? You say, I'm positive I locked the door. All right. So I hope these show clearly the correct way to say these when you use them with lots of emphasis and emotion, because they're very emotional words. All right. Well, so thank you. That was everything for today. So I'm just going to tell you everything, review everything of what we covered. We talked about the present perfect and compared it to the past perfect continuous today. A quick comparison. The present perfect is to say actions that started in the past and are connected to now. The continuous is to say actions that started in the past and are happening now. They are ongoing, in progress. The form is very simple, similar. The form is very similar. Subject, have or has, plus the past participle, that is the present perfect. And then subject, have or has, plus been, plus verb ing for the present continuous. And then don't forget contractions for everything, and then that vowel reduction, not been, but been. I've been, you've been, they've been. We get that contraction and vowel reduction working together here. In addition to that, we talked about for and since and how they connect to each of these. For a period of time, since for an amount of time, for a period or amount of time, and since for a specific time. So try to remember those rules and the difference for non-action verbs and action verbs. So present continuous, present perfect continuous always has action verbs, like something like jumping, sleeping, eating, walking. These are all the present perfect continuous verbs. And then finally, we did some work with strong adjectives today. Whew, all right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in for another SEDA College online live class. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you learned something that you didn't know, or you remembered something that you had forgotten. Please feel free to ask a question in the chat, and I will try to answer after this video closes. So I hope to see you all again for the next broadcast, the next in the series for the intermediate class. So once again, thank you all, and I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.